Although she is a lawyer, she considers herself a dolphin, not a shark. She is a peacemaker, not a gladiator. Mari is the author of 5 published books and was the host of 2 radio shows for 15 years on KUCI 88.9 FM in California. She is presently the podcast host of Conflict Healing. Her most recent book, Fighting for Love, addresses how to transform conflict into harmony in any relationship. It's available on Amazon, but she has it with her today if you wish to buy one at a huge discount. If you would like one, she will sign it for you after the service. Mari was a board member at Unity in Laguna Hills, California, and was an active member there for 18 years, leading spiritual circles and teaching in the youth ministry. She and her husband moved to Florida 3 years ago and was happy to find Unity here. Mari is an ordained minister of the Universal Life Church. She loves sharing spiritual principles and performing weddings and celebrations of life. She had the pleasure of officiating her own son's marriage last May. Today, Mari will share embracing spiritual gifts in conflict, transforming discord into accord. So please give a warm welcome to Mari Frank.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you, Linda, for inviting me again, and thank you all for being here. I have to laugh because when I decided that that would be my talk and put the word, embracing the gift of conflict, I can see that that's something that people don't like usually, right? How many of you want a gift and, with conflict inside of it? Nobody, right? So when my co-author and I wrote this book, Fighting for Love, we wanted to call it The Gift of Conflict. And what happened was we asked all our friends and they said, I hate that name. I hate that name. Don't name it that. No one wants a gift of conflict, but a lot of people don't realize that it is a gift. So we ended up changing it to Fighting for Love, turn conflict into intimacy. So I'm really happy to be here. Before we start, I'd like you to just put your hand on your heart for a moment and close your eyes. And breathe in love. And breathe out any dis-ease in your body. Breathe out any discord in your life. Okay, we're going to get started. So, how many of you have never had conflict in your life? Right? Nobody raising their hand. So it's universal. In fact, God and Satan got into an argument. And the argument was over a fence that was broken. And God said to Satan, Satan, you got to help me fix this and you got to pay for half. And Satan said, no way in hell am I going to pay for half of that. So God said, well, you're going to force me to sue you. And Satan started laughing hysterically and said, where are you going to get a lawyer up there? So I can do this because I'm a lawyer, so I can make fun of it. Yeah. So a husband and wife had been fighting. And when they were fighting, they got to the point where they wouldn't talk to each other. So they wrote a note. The wife wrote a note and said, whoever talks first, the other one is the winner. And I didn't see my sweet friend over there. The other one is the winner. And so they didn't talk for a couple of days. And the husband wrote a note to the wife and says, I have to fly out for a meeting tomorrow at 7. Wake me at 5:30. And he thought to himself, this way I'll get her to talk first and I'll win, right? So he went to bed and he wakes up the next morning after a good night's sleep and he looks at the clock and it's 7:30. And he freaks out and he finds this note on his chest that said, wake up, it's 5:30. So we know who won that one. The white boys won that one, right? So yeah, conflict. People talk about, no one likes conflict, right? But I have learned, being almost 39 years dealing with people in conflict, and of course my own as well, because I'm a human being, that conflict really is a gift. Do you know why? Because it is a very big alarm system telling you something is wrong. Something needs to change. And so the Latin word for conflict is conflictus, which means contest, or it means crisis, and it means a crux of time. The Chinese word for conflict is made up of two symbols, danger and opportunity. It is our choice on how we want to deal with conflict. Conflict in itself is nature. It's natural. We all have differences of opinion. We all get hurt when somebody says something to another person. And we understand that, for example, the butterfly goes through tremendous conflict as a caterpillar to emerge as a beautiful, beautiful butterfly. So conflict is really going to be there. It's inevitable, but fighting is optional. And I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to look at not only our spiritual principles, but we have to use our spiritual principles of what I call ICE, which is insight, compassion, and empathy. But that's not enough. You know why? Because we all know when we're in church, we feel very soothed and very peaceful and very serene, right? But then somebody says something to them like you're an idiot, or somebody cuts you off on the freeway, and what happens? You don't feel that peace, that serenity, right? You don't feel that. So I'm going to show you what to do to tame that ego. Remember, Wayne Dyer said ego stands for edging God out, right? EGO, edging God out. I'm going to show you how, with a emotionally intelligent strategy, how to use your spiritual principles and combine them. And my good friend is over there. I love to see you. Thank you for coming. How to combine them so that you can transform conflict. Now, when I say I'm a conflict resolver, right? For almost 40 years, I sit down with people, whether it's a divorce, and I'm helping them to go through the divorce in a way that's more peaceful, or a business dispute, or contract dispute, or personal injury, whatever. I've done it all in all those years. And yes, 99% of the time we do settle, but you don't always settle. And there may be times in your life, which I have one person in my life that, I wasn't able to resolve it. All right, so when you get a divorce, you're not resolving the conflict, so to speak. Yes, you're dividing community property, but you didn't get back together, so you don't always get agreement, but if you can transform it, you can move on in peace. And that's the difference, is transformation. If you can resolve it, great, right? Great, I love it. But it's not always possible. So, let me tell you a little bit about what I talked about ICE, the 3 spiritual principles. Insight. You have to have insight first. Let me tell you what happened yesterday. Lloyd doesn't know I'm going to say this. My husband is back there. Okay, yesterday it was a stressful day, and I'll tell you why it was such a painful and sad day. But we were both kind of sad and going through a hard time, and somehow it got into, we decided to talk a little bit, well, we didn't decide, we ended up talking a little bit about politics. Well, I have to tell you that I'm a progressive, and guess what? What do you think he is? Conservative. which is difficult, right? It's difficult. So we got into it, and I think we got into it because it was a very stressful day, what we were going through. And it started to, manifest in a way that I wouldn't want it to do. And I wasn't using my emotional intelligence, and for sure he wasn't. So, so what ended up happening was both of us had insight. Insight is looking beneath it, beneath what is the real conflict. If you're talking about, politics, all right, that's this level. But if you're talking underneath, like not being respected, maybe I didn't respect his perspective. He didn't respect my perspective. That's the underlying issue, because when we feel disrespected, that's when conflict arises, right? When we feel offended or disrespected, or we can't get something that we want, or something is taken away from us, or we feel something is wrong and we disagree with someone, right? So that was the underlying issue. That was the underlying issue. And then we had another horrible thing happen. We have a 15-year-old dog named Mimi, and she had a cancer on her back, and she was eating and enjoying going to the dog park, not playing, but kind of walking around, and wanted to be with us. And she has a brother, a golden doodle, who we got after our other dog died last year. And so she was, putting up with him, and she started bleeding profusely on her back, and we did everything. We put cornstarch in there, to stop the bleeding, and made little balls of flour, things, to stop the bleeding. And so we had to go to the vet, and the vet said, it's time. So this is what happened on Saturday. Was it Saturday or Friday? I can't even think. It was Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, Friday. And so it was a shock to me, because I thought they were going to be able to lance it, and then we'd go home. And whenever we've had to put a dog to sleep, they were always at the point where they couldn't eat, right? That's the sign, is they can't eat, or they can't move, or whatever. She wasn't there. She was, before we left for the vet, she ate a treat. So we were both in inner conflict. We don't just have conflict with other people, do we? We have our own inner conflict, and all conflict really does come from within. That's what the psychologists tell us. And so we were both having a conflict in the morning of our conflict, I think, came out of being really upset, but we knew we had a vet appointment at 3. So our inner conflict became something that we had to each deal with. Should we do this? Look at, she's suffering. We were going through guilt and blame, and I should have done this. Maybe I should have had that thing removed, before, or whatever. You go through all these inner conflicts that you have. So finally, we had to decide the resolution of our inner conflict through our discussion, and decided that the vet said, there's really nothing I can do. Plus she was, 15 or 16, we weren't sure she was a breast, 15 or 16 years old. And we said, okay, it's time to go. So the morning when we had that stupid fight, it wasn't really a fight, but it was not good. After we had to put Mimi to sleep, we had this awakening. Life is too short to have these stupid fights, right? It's too short. And so we deal with our inner conflicts by having that insight that I just talked to you about, which is the first letter of ICE, insight. So I had an insight about how we were feeling about our pup that we loved. And then we had the insight about what's the underlying thing? What is it that's going on with us? All right? So the second word is compassion. The second letter is C for compassion. And that's the next spiritual step of conflict resolution, is to have compassion for yourself, right? Compassion for yourself first, because that's important. And then to have compassion for the other person that you're in a conflict with. Recognizing that they're a human being just like you, right? They're a human being just like you. They have needs that aren't getting met. They have desires. They have a lack of understanding. That other person is going through a similar thing when you're in conflict. So that's having compassion, is being able to kind of look into, well, how might they be feeling? What might they be going through? And as a mediator, I have to find that out from all sides. What's going on with you? What's going on with you? Because when you're in a fight, you don't usually ask that, but you need to learn to do it. That's a spiritual value. And then E is empathy. You have to have empathy for the other person. Just kind of step in their shoes and feel what they're feeling. So I think when Lloyd and I went through this on Friday, it got kind of ugly for a bit. You know, he said to me, "I don't like you right now." And you can be sure I didn't like him. I didn't say it, but I thought, I don't like you any better. And he went into the garage and slammed the door. But I didn't really follow him. I just said, "Will you come in here?" He said, "No." But then I had empathy for him. I'm thinking, well, you know, he has these strong feelings, and I really need to respect that, even though I think it's crazy. You know, I don't like it. And I'm sure he thinks the same for me, right? The same thing for me. So we had to have insight about what was the underlying feeling. We had to have compassion for each other. We had to have empathy and the underlying desire. When you get back to insight, what is the underlying desire? The underlying desire is that I want to be respected. I want to be loved. I want to be cherished. And him too. That's the underlying thing. So that's the spiritual value. So it's great to know what your spiritual values, but guess what? It's not enough, is it? Not when you're all angry. I was going to say another word, but I'm not going to say it. So what do you do now? Now I'm going to give you the thing. First of all, when you get angry, let me tell you what happens in your brain. When you get angry, you have two little organs in your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is your fight, freeze, fight or flight or freeze. Thank you. And what happens is, it's automatic. And you know why? It's our primitive brain. It is what God gave us to protect us from the saber-toothed tiger or the alligator or whatever, right? To protect us so that we can get away. So when that is activated, a hormone is created called adrenaline in every one of us here, okay? Every one of us. And that adrenaline gets your heart beating faster. It gets your breathing to be much quicker, right? And your muscles get stronger. People, you know, it's when you're in fear and your baby's in a car or underneath the car, you can lift the car, you don't even know how you did it. It was adrenaline. So you feel like this surge of energy that your muscles are so strong from that adrenaline. So this is why people get heart attacks. If they're under stress all the time and they got that going, what happens? Their heart gets overtaxed and their high blood pressure. I mean, it's very dangerous to have that going on. Now, God gave it to us to get away from, you know, the alligator or the snake or whatever it is. But what happens in modern society is we react to somebody saying you're an idiot. Or we react to somebody cutting us off and doing, I'm not going to do that either. Okay, so we react instead of respond because it's automatic. Now, emotional intelligence teaches us how to deal with that. So, did everyone get this bookmark? Take it out because this is very important. I have a strategy for you. Like I said, it's great to know your spiritual values. I'm so peaceful when I'm with God. When I say the love of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, the presence of God, wherever I am, God is. And then somebody says something to you and you go to hell. Not with this. And I have to tell you that when I went through my divorce many years ago from my ex, I was angry and I didn't like that feeling. So I created this hard loving strategy, and it worked for me, and I taught all my clients, and I continue to teach my clients how to do this. So let me go over this strategy with you, and I'm giving it to you that you can keep in a book or you can keep in your back pocket or wherever you want, and then you will remember to do this. I promise you it works every time. So here's the hard loving. So I'm going to give you an example. We're going to go with H. H stands for halt. Someone tells you something like, you're an idiot. Or let's say someone said to me, Mari, you are the worst presenter that we've ever had. Okay, I am going to, instead of saying, I'm getting out of here, I'm doing this for free, what do you want from me? I'm not going to do that, right? So I'm going to halt, stop, I'm not going to react. Of course, when someone says something that hurts you or you get angry, what happens? You feel like being defensive and saying something back, right? You have to have at your conscious level, no. Remember, H, halt, stop, don't do anything. Now, the second step is anger control. Anger control. Right now, before we go any further, I want you to each think of someone that you are having a conflict with right now, or that you have had a conflict with, okay? Put that in your mind because that'll help you as we go through this to make more sense to you. Okay, think about what that person said to you. Maybe you said something back that wasn't nice. Doesn't matter. We're going to go over it. We're going to replay it. So you're going to say, okay, I'm going to just, I know I'm going to halt. I'm going to stop. And this is like riding a bike. It becomes natural for you after you do it all the time, but it's not easy at first. Okay, anger control. Now this is an important one. Anger control means I have to find out where I'm feeling it in my body, because emotions are in the body, thoughts and feelings are in the head. Can you remember that? Emotions are in the body. So because of the hormones going on, right, that's soaring through your body. So when I get angry, I feel like there's a knife in my solar plexus. Now, each of you are going to maybe feel either that, or you might feel it in your face is on fire. You might feel like your chest is tight. You might feel like a pain in your back, or pain in your heart, your throat. I want you all now, close your eyes for a second. Think about, just go into your body. Think about when you got mad, and think about where you're feeling it in your body. And when you recognize where you feel it, raise your hand. Great. Okay, will somebody just tell me, where do you feel it? Okay, the chest? Yeah, like a tightness, okay. Who else can tell me? Yeah, Lord. In my heart. In your heart, okay. Anybody else want to share? In my back. Okay, in your back. A lot of people feel it back and shoulders. Yeah. Anybody else? Tell me, where do you feel? Yes, but Barry.
My lymph nodes.
In your lymph nodes. Okay, wow, that's pretty direct, and specific. Great. Anybody else? I know you raised your hand. Tell me where else you feel it. Yes?
My chest.
Your chest. Okay. Anybody else feel it like a knife in your solar plexus? Nobody else but me, huh? I'm a weirdo. Okay. So, now that you know, and some of you didn't want to share, and that's okay, but if you weren't able to decipher it, I want to tell you, I want you to think about it when you go home. And the reason why is this. You will feel it in the same place every time. It's a big signal. If you're not in touch with your body, you need to be, because that's the key to resolving this. That's the key to reversing it. So if you already know where you feel it, that's a good thing. That's going to be put you way ahead of the game. So for me, once I know, and now I know it's always the same place, then I can say to myself, I can breathe into that area. And as soon as I breathe into that area, it dissipates. You might even want to reverse it and think, for me, I feel like it's a knife in my solar plexus, so then I can just imagine a knife is coming out, but there's no blood, of course. I have to make sure there's no blood. So if you feel like your face is on fire, just imagine just a cool cloth over you. Or if your chest or back feels tight, you can just imagine, just see like this, God's hands just massaging your back. There's something really quick that you can reverse it. Just breathing into it, a slow, deep breath really transforms it. Whenever for those of us who've had kids and we learned the Lamaze method, remember we all learned to breathe into the pain, and then it dissipates. Not entirely, but it sure helps. So that's anger control. So for me, as soon as I halt, I don't say a word. I just feel my solar plexus, I breathe into it, and I pull it out. Now, I don't do it doesn't take me 10 or 15 minutes like I'm doing now. It's usually, the more I do it, it's just like instantaneous. Okay, it's like anything else that you do habitually. Okay, then the next one is reverse. All right, so anger control was identify your reaction, breathe into it, and then reverse, consciously detach. Now, as I told you, you may think, I'm not going to be mad, I'm not going to be, but it doesn't matter because your body has taken over. All the chemicals, all the hormones are flowing. So now what you do is you keep breathing into that area. You reverse, like I said, once you know what it is, you reverse it. Then the next one is D. D stands for disengage. All right? Now, when you breathe into your body, what you're doing is you are literally reversing the amygdala, which is that fight, flight, freeze. You're actually stopping that from the alarm system. It changes your whole autonomic and your sympathetic system. So by breathing slowly into the areas where in your body, you're already able to go from your amygdala, which is back here, your primitive brain, to your prefrontal cortex, which is your executive functioning, which is your logical brain, which is your mammalian brain, your brain that's already much more evolved. So that is really an important thing. All right, so you disengage. Then the next step is L. You listen. And listen not to respond, like to get defensive. You listen to understand. You listen to understand. And that means when somebody says something to you, okay, when they say, okay, you're an idiot for thinking like that, You listen carefully and you say, because already you've gotten calm, you say, oh, I understand that you're not happy with me, or I understand you're having a problem with me. Now that's using an I statement. I understand you're having a problem with me, or I understand you're upset. Okay? So that is the L. The next one is O, and that stands for, well, we just did that. You listen and then you repeat back what you thought you heard. I understand you're not happy. I understand that this is a problem for you. I understand you're sad. I understand you're frustrated. Then you get to O, which is openly mirroring, which I just told you. And then you get to V. And this is a really important one. You voice open-ended questions. So when you ask someone an open-ended question or an open-ended statement like, tell me more. If you said to me, great, you're the worst presenter we've ever had, and then I'd go, oh, that's a little uncomfortable, but you know what, I understand that you're having a problem with my presentation. Then I would ask you, well, what do you think would be more helpful to you? How can I serve you better? That's an open-ended question. Or tell me more about that so I can learn and grow. Years ago, I had one client, I've had crazy clients over the years, but one client said, you're biased. You're all on his side, or you're all on her side. And I'm going, that's helpful information. Tell me more. Why do you feel that way? Instead of saying, I am not biased. I'm an attorney media, and I know what I'm doing. No, I didn't get it like that. Right? I just asked open-ended questions, and then you understand. Lots of times when you say something like, tell me more about that, then they go from their amygdala to their prefrontal cortex because they can't answer you from that part of the brain. They have to go to the prefrontal cortex. It's all biology. All right, and then imagine solutions. So then they say, well, what? Well, if I give the example of Glenn and I, like we're, feeling very different and speaking very differently about what we think or we feel for politics, then you say, well, what can we do? Well, what we can do is respect each other's opinions and just not discuss it. It's just not worth it. We love each other, we're spiritually on the same place, everything else is good, but that's something that we just have to respect each other. So that's imagining solutions. Or imagining solutions is if you tell me, you're the worst presenter in this, okay, tell me what you would like. If I have clients and say, well, I need something else, I go, tell me what you would like. How can I accommodate you? Okay, so you turn it into an open-ended question, and then it becomes what I call solutioneering. People call it problem solving. I don't like that word, problem solving, because it's a negative word. I made up the word solutioneering. Non-aggression, okay. This is calmly, remember to keep breathing, because somebody may, even though you're doing all this, they might say, you're an idiot anyway. You have to start all over. But this is the way. You have to keep breathing slowly. You keep breathing slowly, and you don't engage. If you use the word you with something negative, I'm going to tell you it escalates. I'm going to tell you a quick story what happened to my clients last week. Okay, I had this couple, they've been going through a divorce, we did everything, we finally realized, she wanted the house, she didn't have enough money to pay him back, you have to equalize the property. So we finally went through it. She owed him like $50,000. He said, I'll take a second trust deed against the house, and you don't even have to pay me until you sell the house, whenever you want. He still loves her. And then also, I'm only going to ask for 2% interest, and you don't even pay me till you sell the house. Okay? Very generous. Of course, I told him that isn't what a court would do, but if he wants to do it, it sounds okay, and I'll do it. So we ended that meeting, and everybody was pretty much on an even keel. Next day, I get this huge thing from the husband, which was the text between them. Okay, listen to what happened. So it starts out where he asks her, she gets home at 8 o'clock at night, and she's a nurse, and she gets home at 8 o'clock at night. They're sharing the house until until this thing ends to save money. So he says, "Hi, I'm making myself dinner. Would you like some dinner?" Because he lives downstairs, she lives upstairs. So she texts back, "I have no desire to eat dinner with you." Right? So then, instead of him saying, okay, and of course, instead of her saying, "Thank you, I'm not hungry," right? Because she started it, he says, he could have stopped right then and there, "Okay, I really was trying to be nice. Have a nice night." He could have done that, but what do you think he did? "Well," he says, "I don't think I want to give you the house." Right? I mean, it just went from 0 to 800 in about probably 2 minutes, right? And I'm watching this because I got it the next day and I see the whole thing. And it just started out and it went and escalated to the craziest things you could ever hear. "We're quitting mediation, I'm gonna litigate, I mean, it was so stupid because they were all done, you know. So I called each of them the next day. And I said to the wife, I said, "So what did you think about, when he asked you to dinner? That he was going to make dinner?" And she went into the whole thing. "I don't like that I have to pay him 2%. It wasn't about the dinner, was it? And for him, anyway, I told her, I said, all you had to do is say, "I'm not hungry." Why escalate it? Look what happened. I showed her. And I said, it doesn't take much it's free to make an apology. Why don't you just say, "I was tired after work, really apologize," Anyway, so she said she would do that. Meanwhile, I called the husband, and I said, "What do you think?" And he goes, "Well, I do so much for her and everything." I said, "Well, why did you ask her about dinner? You were talking about you want to be separate and all this." He said, "I don't know." I said, "You still love her, don't you?" He goes, "Yeah, I do." So we went into that and went through that. So it's always the underlying stuff. And then whenever you use "you" or you start threatening, this is what happens, right? It escalates. So we did resolve it. Everything's good. We signed deeds. Happy ending. Everything's really good. They actually went to the recorder's office together and had lunch, so I felt better. But you have to stop yourself. It only takes one person to stop the engagement. But you have to watch boundaries. So you use "I" statements. If you use a "you" statement with something nice, like "You're so sweet, my sweet friend Maria," that feels good. But if I say "You're an idiot" to somebody, or "You're a lousy driver," or something like that, anything negative, it hurts. And then it's going to escalate the conflict. So only takes one person to stop it. And finally, G, go away. So when something isn't working, and there are going to be times when somebody's so hot that, they've got so much on their mind or they're so stressed, go away. Lloyd went into the garage, right? Now, when you do go away, you don't have to slam the door. You can say something like, "This isn't working right now. Neither of us are resolving this, or neither of us are able to work with this right now. I'm just going to take my, I used to have issues with my ex on the phone, and Lloyd goes, "Tell him to just F you, And I say, "No, because that's what he wants. I'm not going to do that." So what you do is you just say, when you talk to me like that, I really can't be helpful in this situation, so I'm going to hang up right now. You don't slam it. So that is the last one, which is go away. But always, if you can, if you have an issue, say, you know, it's not working right now. Why don't we reconvene tomorrow? Let's have a meeting tomorrow morning. Or let's take a 15-minute break and then do some breathing. So, to finalize, what you want to do to embrace conflict, because conflict is an opportunity for change. It's an opportunity for growth. It is a signal that something has to change. If you don't deal with it, what happens if you don't deal with conflict? Doesn't it get worse? It's like you put something under a rug and then the rug gets so bumpy. You end up quitting your job because you have a difficult time with your boss. You end up getting a divorce because you can't resolve issues with your spouse. Also, you end up in a war like we see with Israel. Israel wants security. Palestinians want a place to live of their own and have sovereignty. Okay, nobody's really getting them together on all this. And so what we want to do is transform the conflict. And each of us has that ability to do it by using ICE, which is insight, compassion, and empathy, and hard loving. If you use that first one and then manage your emotions and using emotional intelligence and using your prefrontal cortex, if you do those two together, you can transform any conflict. Now, I'm not saying it's going to make everybody's going to get back together or everybody's going to be able to resolve it, but at least you'll have peace, right? You'll have peace. Sometimes people are not supposed to be in our lives forever, right? We know that. Sometimes, you know, we come together to learn from each other, and when we've learned everything we need to learn from them, sometimes it's just time for us to release that person. Release that person to grow. And that's okay. But let's release them with some emotional intelligence so that we're not stressed out, so that we don't get heart attacks. I have a client that just 3 weeks ago, I finished with their divorce, and the ex-wife calls me and said, he just had a heart attack and died. 51 years old. So that's when I made Lloyd go to get a cardiologist. It scared the heck out of me. So that's what happens. That's what happens. If you don't manage your emotions, they're going to take you for a ride. So we're going to use our edging God out the ego and manage our ego and tame our ego. And we're going to use our spiritual values. Because spiritual values are not enough when our body reacts, right? So what we're going to do now is a meditation on how to implement this. So if you would please lower the lights and put on the music, I'm going to take you through a meditation. Put your hand in your heart. Get comfortable. If you want to take off your shoes, you can do that. Just find a place to just melt into the chair. Okay? Close your eyes. And now gently and slowly breathe in through your nose. And breathe out through your mouth. Breathe in calm. And breathe out stress. Breathe in ease and grace. And breathe out any dis-ease in your body. Breathe in God's love and breathe out any disharmony in your body. Allow place your intention right now for transformation and healing. As you embrace your spiritual gifts of insight, compassion, and empathy, and blend it with the logic of hard loving, you are going to transform any discord into accord. Think about a person that you have had conflict with, and think about any inner conflict you may have. Think about how you can transform it. Say to yourself, my intention is to transform any disharmony in myself or with other people into harmony. Now visualize in your mind's eye a warm, beautiful golden light, a light infused with the energy of compassion, harmony, and love. Feel this light enveloping you and soothing any hurt, any anger, any resentment. Just feel that wrapped around you like a beautiful blanket of golden light. Now as you bask in this radiance of golden illumination, feel this loving force soothe any hurt, any pain. Now in your mind's eye, visualize this person or persons who you've had conflict with or you have now. See them standing before you with that same golden light of illumination all around them. They are bathed in the same God's compassion as you are. As you see the golden hue around them, you realize beneath the surface that they have the same human desires for love, understanding, compassion. Let go of any resentment at all. Just know that they are doing the very best that they can with their spiritual understanding. As you continue to breathe deeply and slowly through your nose and exhaling through your mouth, imagine now an emerald green ray of healing all around you, all around that person. And now it's extending to our United States, where there's so much divisiveness. And now to the world, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine. Just see this emerald green ray just surrounding the entire globe. Just kind of breathe into that loving energy. Just see it healing in this sacred space, the weight of discord is lifting in each of our hearts and in the hearts of everyone in our country and in our beautiful world. Know in your heart that every conflict, which is really a call for change, is an opportunity for each of us to transform ourselves and everyone around us. And remember that whether a conflict resolves with agreement, what matters most is that you transform it into compassion, empathy, and understanding. When you embrace your spiritual gifts of ice, insight, compassion, and empathy, and you learn to use the steps of hard loving, you are empowered to transform any discord into accord within yourself and those around you. We each can be a force of God's love and peace. Now, continuing with your slow breath, just let go and let God. And slowly and ever so gently, come back to this time and place, knowing that you are peace. You live peace, you are peace. Slowly move your fingers and your toes, and when you're ready, open your eyes. Peace be with you. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that inspiring message. I'm sure we've learned a lot. So we're going to skip our congregational song as we're running way over. So let's, this is the time in the service for the ushers to come forward as we take our regular offering, and we'll sing the Divine Love Song.